you, Nadine?
Hello, beauty. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good, but it's lovely to see you again. But sad that it's 2D.
I know, but hopefully I might see you in IRL at some point in the future because I miss seeing you in IRL. You're so gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
So thrilling and so fun.
That was the whole thing with the whole project. That's kind of what I took away. One of the things, I took away many things from it, but one of the things was just how much fun it was to do it, even though it's a serious piece and we're in a very serious venue and with very serious choreographers and serious artists. But it was still such fun. But I wanted to know,
yes,
how did you get this project off the ground? Where did the idea come from? How did it all come into fruition? How did you get them to agree to it?
Well, there was a lovely artist called Nadine Shah on the radio. How do I describe this? When I put your music on, I see images in my head. And that is usually the testament of me knowing that it's an artist and a musician that I really want to work with, and also that what you talk about and how you talk about it just became incredibly theatrical in my mind. And then I felt that after the year we'd had, with COVID and with the lack of live music and with the lack of live arts, that I felt like all of our arts institutions should maybe be not thinking about their regular audience. They should be thinking about how far wide reaching can we go. It's time to just cross genres. And so with that in mind, I could see a piece in my head to your music, and I just thought I'd bash on the doors of the Royal Opera House and just badger them and be really annoying and get them to let me in, let the rogues in the building.
Why did you choose the song Trad? I mean, I'm glad you did, because I could never have imagined. You suggested we make a 20-minute version of this, and we had, a 27-piece orchestra there, and it took on a whole new life. But I was really curious as to why you chose that particular song.
I think first of all, there was a sort of a strong narrative, but at the same time, you could throw a lot of metaphor into that narrative. And I do feel that dance lends itself to imagery and metaphor, so that was good. But also it felt like it was just very distinct in its component parts. And I thought, oh, actually, we can make this epic. I tell you what, I would love to know, even if it's not, can be just what, again, I suppose what your starting point was for Trad, lyrically for Trad, and what that narrative.
It's always, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? It was the first lyric that we had for the album as a whole, the first lyric, and all I had written in the notes section of my phone. It wasn't like a quill and a leather-bound book. It was just shave my legs, freeze my eggs. Will you want me when I'm old? And that's all that I had. And I kept coming back to it all the time. And I said, I know what I'm trying to do here, and it's the policing of women's bodies. It's torturous. It's really torturous, and it's something that we've been brought up to accept in many ways. And a lot of the women that I love and admire, they pioneer the way to go, no, we can stop this now. We can change. We don't have to adhere to this. It is my body. This is your body, and do with it as you wish. And, the male gaze is a very powerful thing, and it dictates and has dictated for many, many years how we do present ourselves. But it's owning your own body, and that's what I wanted to talk about. And I was talking, many of the songs on the album are talking about being a woman, about being a 30-something-year-old woman as well. Talking about marriage and tradition also. And then when we were talking about making this piece together, it was just after the tragic death of Sarah Everard. And then lots of women were speaking at that time. There was so much frustration. There was so much sorrow, so much anger. And then the conversation, Reclaim These Streets, was happening. And then you were choreographing this piece of work. And the first time I came into the studio, I sat there when they went through it the one time in front of me, and I was in tears, because it was just so powerful and it just happened. Every woman in that room has a story, no matter how big or small or whatever it is. Everybody has their own story, and I could see it. And it was the timing, and it was the movements you've done. There were some movements that you put into the piece where it was wanting to move out, going back in, wanting to go. It was just, it was a very emotional thing to watch at that particular time.
As women, sometimes when we are annoyed, angry, vocal, that can be seen as not a positive, as a bit of a negative. And I found that a collective voice of women, and ones that are quite possibly angry, possibly, you know, almost verging on rage, can be used as such a positive energy. And in Greek mythology, the goddess of rage and anger is she's called Lyssa. And I thought that was a kind of just a very cool title, in that it encapsulates what change a group of female voices can bring about, you know. And the piece was about voices. It was about female voices and the importance of female voices in politics, in corporations, in the arts, in the music industry, and how much that I desire that there becomes a balance in, you know, in hearing female voices just in daily life. So in fact, the piece was a celebration of that, a celebration of just getting 17 women on stage, and the vibrancy of that. You know, what was interesting for me as well was that, you know, you can see how strong those those dancers are. They're so strong. And most of the time, they use that strength to be light and to fly and to stand on point. And it's beautiful, but I just wanted to see what it was like if you explored the strength in a different way.
That was the overwhelming thing when I first saw them. It was their strength.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I'd imagined, floaty, pretty ballerinas in pink tutus. It was none of that. They were just badass. Like, you know, they were punk on stage as well.
You know, in a way, you've conjured these your tribe, and I just felt very much that you know, your lyrics was a story that you wanted to tell, and in your strength and your the things you talk about, it was almost like it was an exchange of knowledge.
It's collaboration is the thing.
Yeah.
That's the overarching thing is the collaboration there between, I mean, you took me around the whole building when we were there as well. Yeah. And it's getting to see the behind the scenes, all the bare bones and the inner workings of this magnificent, huge building, which from the outside, I've been in Covent Garden many times, but you don't realize how vast this place is and how many talented, amazing people there are working there, from milliners to people who dye fabrics, costume department, people working in electrics, people in props. And everywhere you turn, there's somebody making something, fixing something, but collaborating together to then, you know, it's all like the manic stuff behind the stage, and you walk on it.
What has been slightly apparent of this year is that I am quite passionate that there's been a great misunderstanding of the ecology of theatre, and or the ecology of how to bring a live event to the stage. In a way, we've slightly been a victim of our success, because it does take a village. And to introduce you to that for the first time and see your reaction of just seeing the inner workings of this building and how important every single one of those people is, like you say, from the costume designers to the costume makers to the lighting technicians to the floor managers to the stage managers. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And, you know, they are as vital as standing on the stage and performing.
That's what I want to show people. But I'm so grateful for what you, well, for asking us to do it. It was such an honor, such an honor. Mm-hmm. And it was just such an incredible thing to see when it's like your work has been fully realized to the potential you didn't even know was possible.
Well, that's sort of sometimes the magic of theatre as well. But you've got to, I think the germ of the idea has got to be strong. And I'm so music orientated. Like, I just, you know, I can sort of see what it's supposed to be, but you've got to have a kind of solid piece of music to even just start off with, and that's the gift you gave me, which is what's so brilliant. It became something I was incredibly proud of and pleased to have determinedly decided to do.